Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Basic Java Tutorials. I'm Alan Oden.
And I'm Dalton Myhr.
We are two of the main programmers on FRC Robotics Team 3313.
Today we're going to be going over creating a project in the IDE here. We're going to be using NetBeans. There will be a link to the download page in the description if you're interested in it. Okay, so we're going to be going over creating a project, the simpler variables, and creating a very simple method.
Okay, now to create a project in NetBeans, you want to go up here to the little package. You're going to click that, and it'll bring up your new project creation. There's a lot of other options here. If you want to get into those later, we can cover those. But for now, we're just going to be sticking with Java and a plain Java application. Now in here, you can name this whatever you want to. This is how you're going to be remembering it in the development program.
Name. We're going to name it tutorial, obviously. And then now, this is a handy function down here. Your main class is going to be the thing that's run on startup. I'll get into explaining that a little bit more in just a minute. But by checking that, it will create it for you, and then it will name it. And then the thing next to it is the naming system for the folders that Java uses. So the folders will go com, Rogue Panda, tutorial, and main.
Now, main is not a folder, that is the actual Java class itself.
Yeah.
That is the file that we're going to be putting all of our code into for now.
Yes.
Now there are other classes besides main classes, but for now we're just going to be covering the main class. Click Finish, and it'll create your project for you. Okay, so now that main is loaded up here, you can see here that the class name is main, and it also has right here that has main in it, and this is called a method. These are the different functions that are run as your code is executing. If a method has the same name as the class, this is what's run when your code is first executed, when the file is started.
Specifically in this case, because this is a main class, not only just the name, but this will be the first thing run when you launch an application or you run this in a test, anything like that. Whatever you have declared in your main is what will happen first. So if I can just show you quick here. If we were to delete this comment right here, which I can cover in a second. Okay, so just to show that, we can go system dot out dot print line, yeah. Oop.
British keyboard, sorry.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Oh, I have no idea where they are.
It's sorry about this.
Okay, and then here we can do our the default hello world. And go like that. All right.
And now we're going to just go over what this is. System.out.println is your basic output method. When this is run, whatever words are in here will be printed to the console. Now what we're doing here is we're printing a string, which is basically words. Strings are defined by putting them inside double quotation marks like this. Now we're going to run this program, and you can do that by clicking the little green arrow up here. And if you have projects set as a main project and you're opening something else, it's going to run a little weird, so you have to run it a little bit differently, but we can cover that at a later date. Okay, and you can see here that it printed out to the console down here the words hello world. And it says build successful, meaning that the code is done executing, it's done what it's supposed to, and it's stopped.
Okay, and now before we get into anything more complex, we're going to have to cover some simple variables. We can start out with, I think we can narrow it down into 4 pretty simple variables. If get some white space here. And just in case you're wondering, white space does not matter in Java whatsoever. You could put everything on one line, or you could put it on 1.5 million lines. It makes absolutely no difference as long as it is all coded out correctly.
And you don't have spaces in between words.
Yes.
Like for example, you couldn't do that because that's going to screw stuff up. But you could do that, and it would work just fine. You could do it like that, but it's just general good practice to put each statement on its own line.
It's way easier for you than to. Okay, so like I was saying, into some basic variables. We're going to start off with an int variable. An integer variable, it's an integer is what it stands for. Integer. It is any whole number that you can think of. It is, I can't remember how many bits it is off the top of my head.
I want to say 32, but don't quote me on that.
All I know is it holds up to about 2.5 billion. It can be anywhere from negative 2.5 billion some to positive 2.5 billion some. It's somewhere around there. Anyway, okay. So after you declare what type of variable it is, in this case, integer. What? Okay. So in this case, and then the next follows the variable name. In this case, if I can spell, will be pandas. It should turn green, which just meaning that it's an object.
It's a valid variable.
It's a valid variable, exactly. And now we can set that to anything we would like, any whole number in between that range that I told you. So we'll pick a fun number and like, I don't know, 3313, just because it's the first number that came to my mind. You know, no specific reason. It just does. As you can see, there's no red squiggly lines like you'd find anywhere else, meaning that it works and it's correct.
And going back down here, when you're printing things to the console, it doesn't have to be just words. You could, in here, write 75, and it'll print the number 75. Or you could print pandas.
So whenever you refer to...
Okay, and something else we've got to mention up here. Since this is a static class, which means that it won't be changing a lot later on, you need to make sure that everything that's being referenced is also static. And this will make it run okay again. Now if we were to execute this, out in the output here, it should print the number 3313. Yep, right here.
Okay, so in case you're any bit confused, the reason this works is up here in the code. What we declared pandas is obviously, like as you can tell, a static integer, but this is essentially an easier way to refer to something. So if I had, a giant number like something like
that's gonna be too long. And yep, there was an example of how big numbers can get.
Okay,
that's
what?
Just erase. Okay, that's fine.
Anyway, so instead of typing out whatever the 3313000, I think that's correct. You can just type pandas, and it's the exact same thing.
This is really useful when you are using the same number multiple times in the code, but you don't want to have to type it in more than once. And also, when you're using that same number multiple times, you don't have to retype it out every time you want to change it. You just change it once up at the top.
Yeah, so it just makes it way easier. All right, so I think we covered that fairly well. I'm going to move on to another number variable. And it's going to have to be static again because, of course, we're using static methods. Otherwise, here, okay, so it's a static, and it's going to be called a double. A double allows you to use decimal places, which the number can't be as large, if I'm correct.
I think so, yes.
Oh, is it? Double is a 64-bit?
Not sure. There will be there will be an annotation right here.
Anyway, moving on. We could call this weeds. How about? Because I don't know. Anyway, so where with the integer you aren't able to use decimals. I can just demonstrate this quick. Okay, 25 is going to tell me that is incorrect because an integer cannot hold a decimal place. A double, though, like I said, can. So we could go 123.45, just whatever. And again, same thing, just allows decimal places. Okay, would you care to demonstrate or go on?
Yep, and like we said before, these are both variables. We can print both of them to the command line. Right there, and it would just print it the same. Okay, next variable is called a string. This is just your basic text. Now, what I did there is a keyboard shortcut. We can cover that in a little bit if we have time.
Okay.
We can call this one as a string, and this one does need to be capitalized. Capitalization is very important in Java. Okay, we're going to call this one rogues, and we're going to have this one equal to. This one equal to, this is a tutorial.
I would just like to point this out quick, that it does not have to be just words or spaces.
Yep, you can. This is alphanumeric characters.
In a string, you can use any character.
This includes non-Latin characters. So say you are writing a program that's going to deal with Japanese text. You could have it be like that. I shouldn't quite register right, but yeah. And if we wanted to print this, we would put rogues in here and execute it. And it'll print it to the command line here. Now, just because Java is capable of handling non-Latin characters doesn't mean your computer is. You will have to still install the fonts, just like you would for any other non-localized program.
Yes.
Okay. You want to take the next variable type?
Sure. Okay. This one is this is what a lot of things are going to base around. It's going to be called a boolean, which is I can't spell it.
This is a true false.
This is a true false. Okay. And this one we should call, I don't know. We'll call it wow, toot. Okay. Tutorial. Tut.
Tut.
A tut.
Tut, tut.
Okay. So of course, true and false can be true or false. So you can set it to true, false, or even if you wanted, you don't have to give it anything. It's just, it doesn't have
Now, this is the way that any variable works. You could decide to not define it, but depending, some code doesn't like that.
Yeah, depends on how you use the variable.
It's usually a good idea to define it right away, but depending on your preferred methods, you could define it down here, like right here. Okay. Now, with booleans, you can do things like if statements or other things like that. So we're going to just do a quick example of that down here. I'm going to put stuff back up here again. And we're going to have it's if this is true, we'll have it print this. If it's false, we'll have it print pandas. So quick if statement is defined by the word if. And then inside these parentheses, you want to have the boolean. Now, it can be a boolean, or it can be a statement. If 3 is less than 2, is also a true or false statement.
Anything you can pretty much think of mathematically, or anything that can be somehow true or false will work in an if statement.
Mm-hmm. Now, with these, you're going to want to wrap these in curly brackets. And that's just how Java knows that things are working right. Now, something really cool here in NetBeans is, say that your spacing got all messed up or things aren't working quite right. You do Alt-Shift-F, and it formats everything to be spaced out correctly. Okay. Now, in here, if touch is true, it's going to print rogues, and now we're going to do an else. If it's not true, then we're going to have it print pandas.
Now, while he's typing this out, I'm going to point out that it will always try to do an if first. The only reason it will do an else is if it is not possible for it to do the if. That obviously, literally it's if this, otherwise this, else this.
And there are else if statements, like if you had another boolean or something like that, you could wrap it in here. Again, we can set up these later. Tot. Else if tot, then this, and then we're going to have another else right here. And for this one, we're going to have it print weeds. Okay, now when we execute this, tut is true, so it should print the value for rogues right here. Okay, yep, and right there. Now, say that that's false, but tot is true. Then it should print pandas here.
Alright, as you can see, it printed exactly what we thought it would, 3313. Okay, now there's something we should probably go over quick. If you're wondering to yourself if there's some way you can make notes to yourself or something similar, there's a few easy ways to do it. Okay, so if you're wondering how to make a comment to yourself, there's a few ways to do it. The easiest way to do it is, if I get it here, I'll get some white space to explain this first, is to do two forward slashes like that. And now what that's going to do is everything on that line following it will mean nothing except to anybody who reads the code. So when this is compiled, this will literally not mean anything to anybody but you.
This isn't run, this is just making it easier to understand the code itself, or put jokes in there if you want to.
Right, or like if you literally need to make a note to yourself like, hey future, wow, self, there may possibly be changes needed to be made here. That way, when you go do whatever with your life and come back, you might go, oh, hey, that's right, I'm supposed to be I might need to change this, or whatever, you know? But like I said, the downside to this is it's anything after, that comments the entire line after those two forward slashes. So like, again, it would work here and you can do whatever, and it's not going to affect it because it's after.
It's not going to affect what's before it.
But if you were going to try to make a comment, you know, say over here, well, it just turned that whole line into a comment. So what you can do is, I believe it's like this. Hello? Like
yep.
that.
This what we had up here is called a line comment, and this one is called a block comment. This one, like a line comment, if we were to hit enter and start typing things, it will register as a command. However, if we have here a block comment, this comment can span however many lines you want it to, and it will still comment everything until it hits this end comment section here.
Okay, now on to the last part that we said we were going to talk about, a custom method. Of course, this is all just the stuff that's run on your startup, but if you put everything that you possibly coded in your program into just your startup, you know, main thing here, it's going to, it would be a mess.
It's going to get complicated, and it's going to slow stuff down.
So what we're going to do is we're going to create a method to do the same thing that we have here. Yep, I know. So, if we go right here, get some white space. This is how you, if you make a new method, you can just go, I'll get into this later, but for now, just trust me, we're going to do public void, and then this is what you're going to name it. So we're going to name it our custom method. Oh, wow. And then you're going to need two parentheses, and then curly brackets.
Now, something else that's really useful about custom methods is, say you want something to happen more than one time in your code. Like, say you wanted pandas to be printed here, here, and here. Instead of writing that out, you could execute this code here. Like, say if you have 20 things you want to print, but you don't want to type out those 20 things all over again, you just write out here our custom method. Did I spell that wrong? And this will do whatever is in here. Okay. So, like Dalton said earlier, we're going to have this code here do everything that we had doing before. I'm just going to get rid of these comments quick because
that's probably a good idea.
Comments can be useful, but if you're just using them to fill space, they can get in the way. So, we're going to execute all of this code down here. We're just going to select everything, Control C, Control V in here, quick format everything, Alt Shift F, and then up here we write out our custom method. And do that. Now it will run this code right away. Let's go to this extra one here. Okay. So, that's basic methods. Okay. That finishes up this week's episode. Next week we will be covering more complex variable types, return types. We'll cover void and other things like that. And we will also be going over other things like the if statement. Like while statements and
do whiles
and
hopefully some a very basic for statement.
Yep. Okay. Once again, this has been Alan Oden
And Dalton Myhr.
Happy programming.
And may the code be with you.